It just never ends. I want to give you a warning. This is going to be hard to listen to. I heard part of it as I walked in from my Saturday shopping. And I told Douglas we just have to do a recording. Well, actually, he told me we're going to have to do a recording. And that we will. And I'm going to sit here and listen and keep my mouth shut. And
Well, I had a moment, and I said I should do some research on something I'd been thinking about for a while, which is why does crazy drug-addicted Elon Musk call his child X? Why does he do what he does? Why does he call himself Black Maga? Now, I had heard that he was part of a group, and so I simply looked it up. But first I looked up the name of the group has a secret code name, and the secret code name is NR small x. Well, as you know, RX means a prescription, right? That's what it means. So I looked it up. First thing I did, what did I find? That stands for a narcotic pharmaceutical prescription. And so literally the name of the group, Dark Enlightenment, uses the technical medical name for pharmaceutical narcotics as their identification key. It's even called that. Matter of fact, they almost never call it Dark Enlightenment. And so when he has Dark Maga, he's Dark Enlightenment's representative in Maga. Now, that might not mean anything to you, but once I explain this, it's going to blow your mind. Now, a little bit of this I knew before. Some of it I didn't know until today. So what I'm about to tell you, do not get upset by this, because as always, there's always at the end, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And Trump is not being taken to town by these literally demon-possessed techno-lords who have their own ism that was, again, incubated in England at the University of Warwick by a guy named Nick Land. That's who created this ism that all of the tech lords are part of, all the DARPA lords, all the PayPal, well, not all of them. Most of the PayPal mafia, Elon Musk, of course, is part of that. Peter Thiel is part of that, and many others you know. They believe in a guy, and they were bloggers with this guy starting, back in 2000. His name is Curtis Yarvin. Y-A-R-V-I-N, Curtis Yarvin. And he's a do-nothing, nobody dropout who wrote some code for a very pathetic little system called Urbit. And he's a friend of Peter Thiel's. Let's just say these guys are all techno, how would you say it? It's kind of like they're having sex with technology, but they know that the others are all fake. Like Elon Musk only did one thing in his entire life besides taking over businesses that he claimed that he invents things in, which he hasn't done any of that. He wrote code for his first little computer program, which when he sold it, it got him into the PayPal group, and they then had to throw it away because all the code was so bad. He's an idiot. But he believes in this theory. Now, let me just tell you that John McAfee, Dmitry Alperovitch, Peter Thiel, who now is Palantir. Palantir is now what the CIA has thrown away. They have a newer version of it, but the Palantir is basically total information awareness. It's a total sentient world simulation of every person and what you're doing. So if they wish to, they have it. That's why all the cloud storage is needed. So anyway, these guys get money from the U.S. government, usually through the National Science Foundation, which we're now finding out through USAID, and it goes to DARPA, and DARPA is the Department of Defense, and it goes to In-Q-Tel, which is the CIA. They put out contracts for innovation that they need. And then people come forward, and they give them their best shot. And in this process, they steal the patents of anybody who has anything, and then they find some cardboard cutouts. So you don't get a better cardboard cutout than Curtis, because Curtis went to the Johns Hopkins School for Mathematical Geniuses. Oh, so did Elon Musk, and so did a bunch of the other of them. These are children who've been MK altered MK Ultra mind swept. They basically have their minds completely swept, and then they're given who they are, and that's the role they play. Now, these people have become psychotic. Look at John McAfee. John McAfee helped create total information awareness, and he created all the McAfee virus protection devices, right? Because he broke away from the CIA that was doing this and other insider groups much beyond them. They're all British, actually. So when John McAfee broke away, what happened? He made so much money by taking a piece of it and selling it to the public so that the public could think they're being defended from viruses. No, you're not. There's a backdoor into everything. And there's only one secure system I know, and that's the MySkiff system created by Michael McKibben. Everybody else can and John McAfee came out and told us this. And a number of these tech guys, because they didn't invent anything, they were in the field like Page and Brin, what's his name? The guys who did the first search. Sergey Brin and his buddy went in for a National Science Foundation contest, and they sat for a few days to write a little bit of code for what was already called Mimic at the time. Mimic was a military project, and so because they were able to connect it up to the World Wide Web with just a simple little program, what we'd call an app today, they have the whole credit for that. They didn't invent any of that. All these people, Mark Zuckerberg didn't invent anything. Elon Musk didn't invent anything.
Jack Dorsey.
Peter Thiel, none of those guys. Okay, now, who's around Trump right now? Thiel came in and said, we want to take our guy, J.D. Vance, who, after he had kind of a failed technological company, after being a bunk buddy with Peter Thiel, then Peter Thiel gave him the money, and that company failed, and then Peter Thiel gave him the money to run for senator. This will all make sense when I explain it. But if you don't know this, you won't get the point. So J.D. Vance, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk are all in bed together. They are what do they call it?
Menage a trois.
A menage a trois, or there's a new name for it, polyamorous. They're a techno-polyamorous couple, a triple, whatever you call it, a threesome. They've got a new movement. And basically they took Nick Land's acceleration theory, which says that technology has outstripped the monarchy, it's outstripped democracy, it's outstripped commercialism, if you'd want to call it that, and now it's moved into the state where we need a monarch who is a CEO of a technology company, and then you break America down, because they say that, according to Nick Land, that democracy was a failure, and technocracy is the future, but we need to have completely empowered technocratic CEO monarchs, that's the way they refer to it, in different zones. In other words, techno-oligarchs in America. And so all of the computational aspect of taking care of the federal government will go to one company. Well, we already see that, don't we? And so when you get these billionaires who didn't do anything except get government guaranteed contracts, government reduction in their taxes, all kinds of incredible benefits. Amazon, at one point that we were paying for 45% of Amazon. Why? Because the U.S. Postal Service had basically collapsed and couldn't deliver anything, and the theft was so amazing, and that's the reason that Trump wants to get rid of that. Will he get a new one? Well, is Amazon more effective?
Come on, let's get back on the path.
Dark
Maga.
He's part of Dark Maga. He's part of this new group that they believe is going to take over the world. This isn't just America, but because we're the biggest and we're the most advanced, they'll do it here, and the rest of the world will fall into place. So you have, you have Amazon, you have Microsoft, you have Facebook, and then you have the social medias, right? Those people believe that they are going to advance humanity to the next stage, from Homo sapien to what they probably would call Homo technian, and who would run it? They would run it. Now, why? And let's get back to the first point. Why do they say, why is their sign instead of a cross or a sickle moon or whatever, their symbol for their new movement of dark enlightenment is, first off, it says it's dark. Okay? Well, that's not good. And that's because all technology goes into subnature. It's into the dark realm of the demons. And it sucks you to death with basically hypnosis. And sucks your will, sucks your feelings, sucks your thinking. That's just the way it is. Do they know that? Of course they know that. Did they invent any of this? No. So they don't think they have the karma. So they are Luciferic monarchs in a realm of technology, just like a King Charles who didn't do a darn thing except steal. That's the only thing that the monarchy of Britain has ever learned to do, is steal. And that's what these guys have done. And now John McAfee went nuts. Why? Because they took him down to South America and they overdosed him on ayahuasca, and it took him like 2 years to recover. But before and after, he made exposés to the world. I doubt you can find him anymore. I listened to them because he was right there when I was involved in the NSA. He was the guy, who took over Echelon and made it the real thing. So John McAfee went nuts, didn't he? Everybody knows that. Why? Because he took so many drugs. So Elon Musk, I keep saying, he has to stop the drugs. No, they want to promote the drugs. Why? Because Nick Land was an amphetamine addict to the point that he was kicked out of every appointment he ever had, any job he ever had. And he and his girlfriend, who sat around like Annie Besant and a leadbeater and put cocaine in their eyes so that they could imagine what, the spiritual Adam looked like. That's what these nuts did. They were basically the Timothy Leary and his girlfriend of Britain, who created a new ism, which is attempting to overthrow really all they believe. These are eugenicists. These are people, these are racists, these are white imperialists. They believe that if you don't have a high IQ, that you don't get to participate. There should be no democracy. It's a failure. No republic. It's a failure. No constitution. All that to them is a failure. They're the success. Notice Nick Land wasn't a success. He was a total failure because he was a drug addict.
What are they trying to do? Get to that point. So I know we're...
Take over the world because they think that it went to their head. When DARPA gave them all that power, that got them all that money, and they play the role every day, though they don't go to work, though they invent things every day, but they've never gone to work, and they think they're luciferically, demonically possessed, so that they believe that they deserve something like an elite caste system that would be able to dominate and control the world. Why? Because it looks as if their machines that they work with, that they're the heads of the companies that make them, those are their slaves, and it looks as if their slaves can do all kinds of things. And so basically, they believe they rule the world, and now they're trying to get Trump. Here's the good news. Trump already knows this, I'm sure, and he's using them.
Well, I didn't want you to quicken up your summary because I know there's a lot more here. You've got to tell people what X really means, okay? But I just want to frame this because we already know about Errol Musk, who is Elon's father, and that whole South African movement of creating a North American technate. So we thought he was globbed onto Trump because he wants to eventually be the ruler, king, or dictator of the North American technate. And we were concerned because we see President Trump wanting to get Greenland, although it makes good sense, so, there's that. But now pick up Canada, the 51st state, but we're out here going, yeah, but it's filled with people who we don't want in our country, and you've got them, plus you've got that big drug stuff coming in on the border with fentanyl. So when you're talking about this, I'm just thinking about those things, and I know my cats are too. So when you talk about a CEO to run America, my thinking goes back to the technate, but you're saying that this is something different, and that it is a plot that's coming out of the United Kingdom, which then makes me think about the King's silly offer the other day on the Daily Mail to invite Trump to be a part of the Commonwealth community.
I'm sure the psychotic King Charles III believes that he's part of the Dark Enlightenment. That's why he's in such a big hurry to gather so much money for climate, $5 trillion a year for climate change, which is really nothing more than, and by the way, Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, all those guys, they say they believe in the carbon footprint and everybody should be charged. If you listen to what they say insane things. Why? Because their leader, Kurdish Yarvin, And Nick Land, just go to the Wikipedia, look this up, Dark Enlightenment, and you will be able to read for a long time and study them. They actually meet. They have plans to take over the world. That's why they're so insane. And at this point, Palantir has electronically taken over the world. Remember, all of the breaches that have ever happened in the government or in any corporation all went into Palantir. So they already have the ability to pull up you if they want to target you, and that's the reason they need more cloud space, so that they can keep the memory of you as long as you're someone they wish to target. So they have to keep huge amounts of memory. Anyway, Nick Land, basically, no, okay, how does this work? This is how it works. In the late 1900s, just before 2000, Curtis Yarvin basically became a disgruntled programmer who couldn't do anything. And he started hanging out with other programmers who really didn't do anything, but they got tons of money for it. And so he tried to play the game, go to Urbit. He's got a few thousand followers, and everything he's ever done he's been kicked out of because he's a racist, a white supremacist. He says that blacks have lower IQ. He says democracy's dead. He says there's no form of government that is good. This is coming from the ranting and the raving of a lunatic in England, just like Marx, Engels, just like Trotsky, just like Lenin, just like all of the people who were incubated in Britain with their isms. And so this is an anti-tech-ism that actually is dark, so it raises tech up to the highest level to be ruled by people who didn't really invent any tech. You see how odd it is, the way that the demons can use people, and that's what they used Hitler for, that's what they used Franco for, that's what they used Mussolini for. So these guys are really techno-fascists with nothing to go, and their motto is rage, which means remove all government employees. Replace them with computers, and all the computers are centralized to one group. So you do bidding and contracting to get the group. So let's say that we want the IRS. I put in a bid that I can do all the IRS work for this amount of money. Somebody else puts in this. Okay, isn't that how Amazon happened? Didn't it take over and close all the small businesses that were like them? Didn't the internet close millions of stores that were the livelihood of Americans? In the philosophy of Nick Land, it's acceleration of social advancement. And because technology has made us have quantum leaps, then we now need a new form of government. And he says all politics are passé. Now, if you merge this with, that idiot who works for the World Economic Forum who believes that machines will all take over, we'll all be cyborg, blah, blah, blah. This is the route that people want to go when they want to be lazy, and it leads them to what? Dark enlightenment, not spiritual enlightenment. Before it was mental enlightenment. Now it's tech enlightenment, they think. But that doesn't lead you to enlightenment. That leads you to the dark. And when I saw him wearing these shirts, that RX is a sign they used to use in Britain for an apothecary. All it means is that basically the X means you were given a prescription. And it's an apothecary. So when you put narcotic in front of it, DRX, NRX, narcotic drug prescription. And in this case, it means legal drugs. In other words, these are people who took too much ayahuasca and thought that they turned into God. This happens to everyone who takes too much ayahuasca. It happened to McAfee. He came out, he told the whole story. He thought he became God, and so he had to tell the world that everything he'd done was to spy on people, not to protect them.
The symbol that they use between each other to identify their group is NRX. And N is narcotics and legal. So they're saying that they want you to stay inebriated with legal drugs. I guess you're more compliant then. Maybe the television and the program is wearing off, so now they need to get everybody onto drugs, because when you're cognizant of what's going on, you won't approve of this. And does X stand for anything else in this? Because my understanding was that X is going to be the everything app, and all of everything that we do as humans, from ordering packages on Amazon to making a telephone call and putting a deposit in a bank, would all happen on Elon Musk's new app called X, the everything app.
In terms of symbols, the X is the twisted cross now, isn't it? It's just the beginning of the swastika. It means Antichrist. It means the opposite of Christ. And what is a prescription? In most cases nowadays, death is one of the symptoms. So when you say X, to me, you're saying something very bad.
Side effects.
And that's so true with all these things. Because why? Yes, they want to control the masses through pharmaceuticals, through placating them, through giving them robots, through advancing technology as much as they can. They believe that and this is the beautiful part. This is probably the only part I agree with. They want to get off the earth as fast as they can. That's why Musk is obsessed with going to Mars. Good. I say put them all on one ship and send them off. And if it blows up on the pad, well, too bad.
Well, he's a materialist, so he wouldn't understand that, yes, we do leave Earth, and we are making progress in a mindful, slow, gentle way to ascend to an existence, because you can't imagine your human form. It'll be something different. Imagine your consciousness being on a planet Jupiter. So we don't stay on Earth forever, but they want to literally take up, what was that, his little Tesla red car, and fly it to Mars. Crazy.
And he was so off on the calculations that it's never going to get to Mars. It was his first roadster. And that's because the two men who invented Tesla, who he came in and when he took over the company by power leverage, he said that they had to comply and then sign non-disclosure agreements saying that he was the inventor of Tesla. This is how corrupt this demon-possessed person is. Now, does he think he's doing some good? Oh, he thinks he's doing great for the whole world.
He is doing good. He's cleaning up our government and this wasteful spending. So for that, kudos. But I guess he has to get this all cleared up before they roll in their new dark Maga.
Okay, so they had to bring in the biggest demons with the biggest horns because the entire federal government was completely inept. And it was that way on purpose. It was so there could be no compliance, so there could be no audits, and so it was dysfunctional. It's been that way for 30 years. Anyone who's ever worked with it in the last 30 years should know that. I worked with it. I know. I saw the way it didn't work and the way it couldn't work. I was a systems analyst at the time, working on the biggest computer in the world at NSA. And I had to teach them the simplest things because they were unable to move forward. They were bureaucracy. So I streamlined systems and they were like, oh, let's give you an award for this. It's like, oh, an award? And idiots should have figured this out long time ago. So what Doge is doing, any idiot auditor could do, okay? A financial forensic expert, and I know a few, can go into any place and do that. And the first thing they check is, do the books balance? And if they don't, and they say there are no books, or there's double sets of books, or there's no input, or there's no coding, then come on, you close them down. There's no choice. So rage, that means remove all government employees. So do they want to, would they be happy if IRS was removed? Oh, hell yes. Would they be happy that anything is closed down permanently? Absolutely, that's part of their creed. Now, is this a religion? Is it really an ism? Well, was Bolshevism an ism when a handful of Jews who said they were Jews changed their names and were moved by the Brits into Russia to take over Russia? Well, how many people was that? A few dozen. So is this a movement we should be concerned about? Yes. Do I believe Trump is aware of it? Yes. Does he have rage? Oh, he's on the revenge tour. And I'm happy for it. Do we as conservative people who believe in common sense and the Constitution and a republic, not a democracy, want the closing down of what I would say easily, well, we saw this before. I've said this many times. When the government was closed down before, only essential people were left, right? It didn't stop anything. It didn't stop. 75% of the government weren't working then. Did it slow anything down? No. Because why? They said that, mail was essential and so on and so forth. But the only reason mail can deliver its mail is because UPS and Amazon deliver.
Okay, so I'm beginning to see the plan. And President Trump, forgive me if this isn't your plan, but it looks like this to me. So you get in, you know that the government's got a lot of corruption. Elon Musk has been bugging you because he wants to jump in for whatever reason. And he shows you the power of the computers today and what it can do. And you go, yeah. And so you use him. And you let him hang out at Mar-a-Lago. You even walk his son up without his father to your helicopter, whatever Elon does, because he has the technology, and these young people that are the savants that are working in Doge love Elon Musk, and they're cleaning everything up, and we are finding massive corruption. Now, Musk and his dark Maga group over there in England, who think that they're just going to insert Elon Musk into your position, well, that's not really what they're going to do. Peter Thiel already beat him to the draw, and he put in J.D. Vance. I have a feeling that Susie Wiles was also behind that placement. But anyway, so you've got J.D. Vance there, all smiles and grins, thinking he's going to be the next president. So then as soon as he's president, he's tight with these Musk-Thiel, this little triage you've got going here. Slam dunk, he becomes the CEO, and they already have their systems in place. So it's total lockdown, and the technocrats win. And you call them, I like the word techno-sapiens better. Techno-sapiens, because they know that humanity is changing. They're just forcing that change, guiding that change into a technocracy that they can control. And for many reasons, but this one now especially, I don't want to see J.D. Vance in that position. I hope that somewhere along the line he's dismissed as vice president and gets this notion out of his head that he's going to be the president of the United States when Trump leaves.
J.D. Vance, Peter Thiel, and Elon Musk were all lying in bed together when they came up with this idea, okay? And J.D. Vance is basically their star. Once Trump beats them up and he takes all the heat, J.D. Vance is all prepped, and he will have the money and he'll have the system, and the systems will be aligned, because there'll be no systems that these oligarchs will have that will just be independent, because they will be connected, because they're an ism. They're not just like the oligarchs of Russia. Every oligarch was separate. That's the reason Putin could take them down, and previous presidents of Russia could take them down one at a time. And so Britain is messing with much more than it can handle here again, but of course it always incubates insanity. This guy, Nick Land, was a professor for years, and he would take drugs and sit around and hallucinate and come up with the stupidest ism I've ever heard of. It basically gave his soul over to demons. So the demons said, we want it all centralized, and we want it in the hands of some crazy people. And the number one thing these crazy people think is that they're going to live forever. We're going to let them believe the machines are going to let them live forever. And what's the number one thing? Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, and almost all the billionaires tell you, Gates, all of them, they want to live forever. They're going to go into a machine.
Don't forget Ellison and Oracle. We haven't mentioned Oracle in this.
All of them. Just listen to the speech patterns of any of these people who are supposed to be the geniuses who wrote the code for new things, not just where they're, copying off of what Michael McKibben already did, but anything that's new. And you won't find that they're geniuses at all. They may have gone through John Hopkins School for Special Children. They may have had special programming, but anybody like Musk who thinks they're going to put a chip in their head and that the human body won't reject it is simply foolish.
But we have a plan. Years ago, when Douglas and I were looking at this whole mess, and we were researching, and this is before we were communicating with you guys, we saw that the Achilles heel to everything was the theft of social networking. This is an invention that Michael McKibben and Leader Technologies worked on for many years, invested millions of dollars in it. And basically, it's a technology where anything that you log into, if it has a login, that's Mike's technology. Well, they stole it, and we've worked on this, as you know, for several years. We're not going to let this go. It's a theft. And if we're going to make everything right in America, this theft needs to be corrected. And we've made an offer that, because we see that we're at a turning point in humanity, in the way we operate as a country. We the people want control over not the internet, but this platform that was stolen. And so we have an agreement ready to go. All that needs to happen is that the president would need to recognize the theft and then pay McKibben to be the primary license. And we'd hold the primary license for this in the executive office, and it would be held there for the benefit of we the people. And then from there, we'll write a terms of agreement for all these technocrats, because Musk, Thiel, all of them, they park their stuff on Michael's platform. So do the banks, all your news services, everything is parked on his stolen platform. Well, we the people say the executive office stole it, we want it back, we want to be properly paid, then we want new terms of service. We the people will be the holders of the master license, and you will abide by our terms of service no matter where you are in the world. There'll be no more censorship. We'll go down the list of the things. You can't spy on us, surveil. We'd love to sit down with President Trump and go through the things that we'll want to have on that master license. And then none of these guys can use that technology. And oh, by the way, Leader has the back door. That's why it's so easy to access everything. Now, people had asked us throughout the years, could you please have Mike create this again? Well, it's like one of those things you just can't recreate again. The whole world has parked itself on it. So let's just make it right, and let's let the people control this technology ultimately. And then all these beautiful things that Elon Musk is bringing to us, well, it can benefit humanity, because I would love to see a government that was so transparent that I could literally take I don't want to pay taxes anymore. I'm tired of paying taxes. Damn the IRS. It was a creation of the deep state over there in the United Kingdom to control us. We need to get rid of it. I know I hear this thing, that Lutnick guy, that was not there on 9/11, but his whole staff was while he scooted out, took his son to grade school. Lutnick, he has a lot to pay back humanity for the evil that he has done. But anyway, he says that President Trump might not have taxes paid for anybody under $150,000. Well, I make a hell of a lot more than that, and I'm sick and tired of paying everybody's load. I want all taxes removed, all income taxes just wiped away. Now, if you want to get the external tax system going with tariffs, April 2nd can't come fast enough, then great. But we need to eliminate the IRS and so much other stuff. I see so much good stuff coming out of this, Douglas. But I know that if there are enough moral people out here, that we can guide this to a better government and to a better way of life.
Trump has Peter Thiel in his pocket, so all the corrupticians in D.C. can go be put through Palantir, and in less than a minute can have a readout on their corruption and their money leading to their offshore accounts and all their banking, because it's all in Palantir. So he has a better intelligence system than certainly the federal system, right? He also has the richest guy in the world who is an idiot who will give him whatever money he wants. It's handy to have one of those guys. That they happen to be part of a system that he's going to use against them, because just as Tyler just said, Michael McKibben can tell you exactly where in the software you can pull the back door out of anything. But the back door is useless on his new invention, MySkiff. And so if the government has now machines that are up to date, I don't care who's running them. If that's on them, they can be secure, but only through that system, as far as I know, in terms of cryptology. And that's what I did in the NSA, cryptologist, systems analyst. So what's happening here is he could use them And yes, J.D. Vance, he's already come out and said J.D. Vance will not be running in the election for the next presidential election. And he's not a candidate to be the president. That's what Trump has said from the get-go. But these boys won't listen.
They don't care what Donald Trump thinks. If they've got this plan down, they will find ways to get rid of Donald Trump and put Vance there.
And all it takes is understanding that those people you think are your best buddies who climbed into bed with you and offered you all these things for free, they're your worst enemies. And J.D. Vance, you're an alpha male, he is a beta boy, okay? No, we don't like him. The American people don't like him. Saw right through him from the beginning. He's nothing more than he's a cardboard cutouts choice for a cardboard cutout.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good.
It's pathetic. He is so bad that you look behind him, there's nothing there. Lies about being from the Appalachian Mountains and stupid stuff. That he had a company that was successful, stupid. That was Peter Thiel's money. It wasn't successful. No, none of that's true. And he wears eyeliners, okay? I'm sorry, but I have limits, okay? So anyway, so that's what's going on here. Do not ever underestimate the forces of the Spirit that can come through someone and make them into an instrument, even if they're evil. It doesn't matter. Evil people have been used to do fantastic good. And you don't know it for 100 years until later after it happened, and you go, oh my, the angelic doctor, Thomas Aquinas, was used for crusades, the Albigensian, the Waldensian, the Bogomil crusades in Europe that killed millions. Well, he was an angelic doctor. What did he do wrong? He told us about the angelic realm. Aristotle has been turned into scientism, scientific materialism. How much more evil could you get? Technology says it's based upon scientism. Scientism is based upon shifting sands, castles in the air, temporary theories. And then you tell me technology and a super AI is going to control America? Crazy talk. That you're going to go to Mars? Well, it's getting close that we have learned out plasma thrusters and such things that can get us there much faster. But so what when you get there? That's the past. You need to go towards the sun. Now, if you go towards the sun and you can get me to Venus or Mercury or Vulcan or the sun, I'm ready to go on the journey with you. But until you understand plasma, until you understand that our little world down here, Mr. Elon Musk, is just a fraction of an anomaly, you're not going to understand how to get to Mars. That's why his calculations were so far off. And they weren't his calculations to begin with. So don't worry about this, but I thought you should know. What is crazy dark Maga doing standing next to Trump with his little ex-child? The ex-child has become basically, what's that called? That's called a familiar. He's used his child as a familiar to make it look like he's a good daddy. Well, he's the opposite of that. He's trying to make it look like he's a technologist. He's the opposite of that. He is just following this stupid ism that they try to keep secret by using these secret letters that represent narcotic pharmaceuticals. So I have complete faith in the spirit of the time, the Archimichael, who is the spirit of the sun. You don't get a better leader right now from the spiritual world, and so that being is inspiring lots of people. I look everywhere, and what I see is people talking about plasma, people talking about the new science, the new awakening. People are so awakened now. It is shocking, and it's grassroots. These people did it on their own. These aren't people who had teachers and a lineage. These are people who just, you listen to them, you go to their site, and you go, how could they have done that? Why? Because the collective unconscious has become available to us as a demonic offering through the internet. All knowledge is there, and now they have subroutines that make it look like it's a type of intelligence when really it's a machine intelligence. And so the question isn't, is the machine becoming more like human intelligence, which it never will? Or is human intelligence becoming more like machine intelligence? And that's the fear of anyone who can see what is really going on. So technology is good And in the future, Rudolf Steiner says, no machine will be able to operate unless the person's energy demonstrates, probably by reading the plasma rings in the heart, whether you have a moral constitution. If you don't, you can't operate the machine. It's called moral technology, and it's the antidote to what he calls, or he says cosmology, Christian cosmology is the antidote to what he calls mechanical occultism. And that's what we're talking about. This movement that Elon and Thiel and the other fake technocrats are involved in is nothing more than a shadow of what is rising up as the specter, the demon of our time, coming up from the gates of hell because we've brought too much technology up here unconsciously and we're using it. What we need to do is become moral and develop a new technology that makes that technology look like child's play.
I know that's such a good endpoint, but still, when you said that, I thought of the plasma that's falling from the skies because of the 5G, 6G, whatever Gs they're running that are falling to clean up the technology. And here we are with our words and our recordings also trying to clean it up. So everybody do your part to clean up this technology and move it to the light. Let's make it a moral technology.
See, because mechanical occultism says scientism is their belief, which is scientific materialism. But a cosmology, a living cosmology, is first going to have to consider the cosmos and then the anthropogenesis, the human, and it better have something good to say, because if it doesn't, how is it going to compete against the fact that evil has come out and shown its face? So if good doesn't come out and show its face, this battle will be lost. And believe it or not, this is a powerful battle happening in the soul and spirit, well, physical soul and spirit of every human being on the face of the earth.